Hi, my name is Jeff Pagano, and welcome to the Harping on Rugby preview show. Joining me to look ahead to Saturday night's interpro out in Galway is someone back earning his 93rd cap. A warm welcome back to Mr. Neil Keego Keegan.
How are we? The winter is finally here, and there's no other place we should be going than the sports ground this weekend.
Exactly, because we know we can always rely on the weather out there, though that's not necessarily a good thing. But before we go on about that, how about your thoughts on Croker last week? No problem talking about it again for another couple of minutes.
Yeah, well, look, I'm going to be nice. It was great to see a full stadium. It was great to hear a loud stadium. It went the way we kind of said it was going to go last week. Um, Munster have a lot of work to do. With all the banter back and forth, they have a lot of work to do. The effort is there, everything is there. I think they have the right coach. I love Roundtree. I think there's a lot of great players in there. I love the stubbornness they have in the team. They just have a lot of work to do. Leinster, again, the second half where there's not a massive challenge there. I would have liked to see more points. I do think the scoreboard flatters Munster, and I do feel that we do need to figure out when we're having things our own way. We're not necessarily going backwards, but we just need to keep moving forwards.
Yeah, it was interesting. I mean, it was very similar to the previous week where we had the bonus point wrapped up before halftime, and then positions got shifted around a bit, not just in the backs but in the forwards as well. This time we had Andrew Porter playing in the back row and little things, odd combinations like that we hopefully not going to get too used to throughout the season. But and well, this time they did get within 14 points with 15 minutes to go, and it was starting to say, if they get one more score now, but then our defense held out so well. When you look back in it a second time, you just wonder were they ever going to get that third score and get any closer. But still, listen, you at this stage of the season, maximum points all around. Can't really
Yep.
complain, and we press on, and let's do that anyway. And look at our feature match of the week, which is of course Connacht v Leinster in round 5 of the 24-25 BKT United Rugby Championship. This game is taking place at the Dexcom Stadium, formerly known as Sports Ground, on Saturday, October 19th, kicking off at 7:35 p.m. TV coverage is on TG Cahir, Premier Sports 1, and URC.tv. Leinster named their matchday squad at Friday lunchtime. If you're watching on YouTube, you should see it right there in the screen, or for pod listeners, you'll see it in the program notes. So for Keego's first point this week, he wants to talk about a certain Mr. Snyman.
Yeah, and again, I promise it's not to poke the bear from last weekend, but he's obviously fit. He's
That's a bear
obviously
that pokes itself, in fairness.
to you said it. I think everyone's lovely. It's a new year, new me. But I think he's obviously fit. He's obviously hungry for work, and it's great to see. The shift he put in last week was brilliant. The week before, again, brilliant. And that if he's in the team, it allows us to kind of bring people forward. You look at the front row that's starting. There are guys like Slimani getting a start, a couple of guys who are kind of on the fringes, and they're there because of the security in that second row. With Ryan in there as well, Big Joe is kind of chilling on the sidelines. Just we've stopped feeding him. We're waiting for him to come back for Europe. But I love what he's doing to the team, Snyman. He's raising everyone. Ryan last week, massive shift. But part of that's anger, frustration, all that sort of stuff. But also part of it is he's working really well with Snyman. Snyman is taking on a lot of work, which allows Ryan to kind of open up a little bit. So I'm loving watching it. I'm loving watching how we're going to manage him throughout the season. Because if he's fit, it's a very different story. If he can keep the gas tank full and we take care of him, again, that's not me saying he wasn't taken care of. Uh,
Hmm.
but if he stays fit, this whole season changes.
Yeah, it's definitely so far so good with him. I mean, the contrast between again, you don't want to bring it up again, but his first line out when he was wearing red against us versus his first line out where he did that one-handed grab. I mean, he's
Yeah.
just slotted in so well. I mean, you look back over the years, these second rows that we brought in to such good effect, like Nathan Hines and Brad Thorne. He's almost like the two of their combination combined into one player in that he just slots right into the team. Class player that seems to have picked right up on our systems, and he's really given us a headache now. He started against Benetton with Joe. This is a second start with James Ryan, and both their games get raised as well with him as
Yeah.
well. So it's a real headache going forward. But for your second point, you wanted to look at the team as a whole, with the way they've seemed to gone full strength again.
Yeah, so if you kind of the previous years, we've kind of chopped and changed quite a bit. And you and I had a chat maybe first week of the season where we're talking about, right, how many tens have we got? What's our 1, 2, and 3 10? that was solved pretty quick in the first 3 weeks. Basically, that answer was given to us, because we can't afford to kind of, again, phrasing is going to be all over the place here, but we can't experiment too much throughout the year when everything is going to be so close at the end. We had to go away for the business end of the season last year, which is very, very unlike us. And so I think the guys have really changed the way they think about it. They're going to go and play obviously within the playable minutes that were allowed. The top teams are going to be picked every single week. And if you're in that team, so that front row starting in the sports ground, they know they're worth that jersey, because if they weren't, they wouldn't be there. And that's quite a change over the last couple of years, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like every Wednesday, when after we've gotten the injury report, I try to predict what the 23 is going to be for the following weekend. And of course, I always get it wrong, but still, this week I'm delighted to be wrong, because I really thought that they go with a lot more cotton wool with this lineup. But there you got Frawley and Gibson Park there again. Yeah. What I noticed against Munster, it was my first time. I missed the Dragons match. It was my first time seeing them live this season. And when you're there watching it, you can see the patterns better. You can see the way the Frawley Gibson Park, and of course you got Blyandal as well, pulling the strings for attack, and you can actually see what they were doing. You can see the difference in the kind of the patterns and the way they're playing. So for them to get more game time together, definitely all for that, because that seems to be our strongest pairing there as well. But of course you got to look at the bench as well. There's a lot of influence from that emerging Ireland squad that's coming back into the team. There's been in that in the Connacht squad as well, but you've got Hugh Cooney making his debut, and of course with all the hookers injuries we're having at the moment, I mean literally we've got 4 top line hookers all on the sidelines now, so that means we've got to go for Gus McCarthy, though he's impressed as well this season, and now we've got Stephen Smith, who was on that tour as well. He's going to be making his debut off the bench, so some interesting, a very strong starting lineup, but some talented under-20s coming off the bench as well. So then Fintan Gunn as well. He's impressed in his starts for his time in blue for Leinster this season. So there's a lot to look forward to in that 23 for sure. Okay, so now we'll have time to have a look at the Connacht lineup. They are so far this season they're sitting 5th in the URC, which isn't too bad at all. And although they've had ups and downs, they've played a couple of interpros already away from home, and they've got 2 losing bonus points, which in maybe in other years would be really good. But I think they felt they could have won both of those games if things had gone differently. So I think their record at the moment speaks exactly the way. I've watched a lot of Connacht this season, and some amazing tries down one end, but some silly tries let in down the other. And they've scored 120 points. They've conceded 120 points. I think that sums up how their season has gone so far. What do you make of their lineup?
Yeah, 100%. And that's the heartbreaking part of the year. They do so much good work, and then it's just a brain fart, and everything kind of falls down on itself. I think they fancy a shot at the front row. I think when you look at who they picked a very, very strong front row. And I think they're kind of, I think Slimani's taking a little bit of time to settle in, kind of not as quickly as Snyman has settled in. That'll happen in time, no problem. But I think they might fancy a shot at that end of the scrum. But yeah, like Connacht, I love the 5 and 6 in Connacht. Murray and Prendergast is brilliant. I just love watching him. I'm just scrolling through it here on the other screen here, and like they're going in there with Ben Murphy and Josh Ioane as well. Like they're not going to mess around. Sports ground is going to be cold. It's going to be loud, and if Leinster, if we show up kind of a little bit, if too many lads are wearing the long sleeve Under Armours and the gloves and things like that, it's going to be a problem. Okay, so I don't think that's going to happen, but I think if we see that, I think that's going to be an issue. I think they fancy a shot at the front row. I don't think they want to go near the second row or the 9 and 10s, or the back row, but I think they're going to fancy a shot up front.
Yeah, the news came through this morning that Josh Murphy, who got a red card last weekend, he's got 4 weeks on the sidelines. He was tearing up trees for them so far this season, having a great start to the season. Just a bit of maybe a rush of blood to the head there up in Belfast last week. So he sits it out. He's a big loss for them. But there's a lot of areas in the centre there. Bundyaki and Hawkshaw has done really well. He was doing well for Leinster, but we have a lot of talent in the centre there. So he moved on, and he's been doing well for them. So that's an interesting center pairing. A lot of quality throughout the 23. And I was talking about the under 20s coming from the Emerging Ireland squad there. They've got someone making their debut as well off the bench, Hugh Gavin, who was amazing in that, especially in that third game against the Cheetahs for Emerging Ireland. We were talking about them in our latest YouTube clip there on our YouTube channel. So yeah, there's a lot of talent coming through. I'm not exactly crying. I don't see the name M Hansen in the lineup there. There might be some players just getting a bit of a rest there after the start of the season, but Ben Murphy is definitely one who has impressed. He kind of he gave his dad a bit of a headache there last week against Ulster with that try before halftime, and he's done really well. And we got the likes of him and Fintan Gunn coming off the bench for Leinster. It'd be great to see. There's a lot of talented nines coming through the system, so plenty there to hurt us if we don't play our cards right. Okay, we'll have a quick look at the officials there. It's Owen Cross holding the whistle. It's an all-Irish lineup for the officials. Now, I actually did the research. Normally don't when it comes to Galway, but I looked up for the weather on AccuWeather. I actually looked it up, and what a shock. Cloudy and windy with a high chance of rain. The wind could get up to 70 kilometers an hour, it's saying. So we'll see what happens there. But that's pretty much what we expect when we go to Galway there. And so now, Keego, we're gonna have a quick look at what else is going on in the URC this weekend. Which match stands out for you?
Well, seeing as my top two are playing each other, we're going to South Africa to watch Munster. We can't stop talking about them, but I have a genuine love for the coach, and I really want him to figure it out is the wrong term, because I think his ideas are correct. I think the team he's got around him are good, but they kind of going to South Africa with the injuries they have and the kind of tough time they had in Croker. I think this is where you see the Munster stubbornness, but you've also got to see them put a shift in. They did that towards the end of the season last year and the season before, I think. So we need them. They're kind of off the radar a wee bit now for a few weeks. We need them to be stubborn. We need them to turn them over, and I I hope they will. This really is feeling weird being nice about Munster. But no, I do. I genuinely hope they do. And I hope we get another Roundtree interview while he's walking on the pitch talking to himself, because that was fantastic before the game last week.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that's it. I usually don't like those, especially when it's in the middle of the match, because that is literally the last thing any coach wants to be doing, and I don't want to see them doing it. But before the match, it was a bit. It was funny. All right. Okay, so a quick shout out to the Irish women who finished an amazing second in the WXV1 tournament after another convincing win last Friday. This time against the USA. That put them into the second pot for the World Cup draw during the week, which saw them in Pool C alongside New Zealand, Japan, and Fiji. So lots to look forward to for this ever improving team in 2025. Best wishes to them. Okay, so now it's head on the block time, Keego. How do you see it going in Galway?
Now, I've already done my picks for the week. I think it's Leinster by, I think I have them 7 or 10. I think that's the way I have it. It's not going to be easy, and with a 70k wind, it's not going to be fun. But I think it's 7 to 10.
Yeah, we on our Facebook page after the game on Saturday, it was like very, very negative comments. Now, these are people who are commenting like right after the full time whistle, so I can understand. After that second half, when we're held pointless, I can see where the frustration's coming from. But personally, maybe having a week to have thought about it as well, I would actually take a similar kind of game to the last couple of weeks if we have the bonus point wrapped up before the halftime and defend and maybe use the bench a bit more in the second half and bring a lead home. I would definitely take another performance like that. It's not guaranteed in Galway. We've just said the conditions might be iffy, but we definitely will have to get on top. And if we're playing a strong team, we're going to have to make that count in the first 10 20 minutes. It's really important, but if we can do that, I think we can finish on top for sure. Okay, so many thanks to you all. Anyway, we're going to leave it there. What stand-up gigs do you have coming up?
So this Sunday we're heading into Dublin. We're in Bruxelles on Sunday, and then the countdown to New York is on. Heading off to New York on Tuesday week. So a few gigs out there. I'm sure we've got brothers and sisters out there. So we'll see you all out in New York for a pint.
Brilliant stuff. Sounds good. Oh, and you'll get all those details on our the links there on the screen or in the program notes. Okay, listen, Thanks to everyone for checking out our latest preview show. Be sure to enjoy the match wherever you are. Leave a comment on our Facebook page after the full-time whistle. We will, of course, have a wrap pod for you this week, recording on Sunday evening. Hopefully you'll help us out by liking, sharing, and subscribing. In the meantime, stay safe, everyone. Slán.